I'm Ashton Addison from BlockWest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Michael Luckhoo and Daniel Bland, co-founders of Cirus Network and Cirus Foundation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Great. Thanks, Ashton. Nice to meet you.
Thanks,
Likewise.
Ashton. It's great to work with you again.
Definitely, Michael. Thank you for coming back. Daniel, great to meet you, have you on the show. I would love to kick it off with a little bit of information on you and your team and an overview of Cirus Foundation and some of the solutions that you're providing.
Well, thanks, Ashton. And actually, I'm here today in Reno, Nevada, and I've got a little exclusive for you. I'm here at Gil Emilio's home. Gil is the former CEO of Apple Computer, one of the longest tenured directors at AT&T. And Gil has agreed to join us as a senior advisor. We'll be announcing that officially on Monday, so you're getting a little bit of an inside scoop here. And Gil, as you know, one of the titans of Silicon Valley, brings a lot of credibility to blockchain now, and obviously the Cirus Foundation. We're very, very excited about what Cirus Foundation is all about. And, you know, to sort of give you the very short version of what Cirus is all about, we're all about empowering the ownership economy. And so what does that mean specifically? In our case, it means giving you, the owner of the data, ownership and actual paying you for that data. The big data industry is $1 trillion industry. It's running leaps and bounds, growing great. But what they've left out the guy who actually owns the data. And that just doesn't make sense. So our entire thesis is to change that. To do that's tricky, takes a lot of work. And the most exciting part about that, we really utilize blockchain technology to do that. And so that's really why we come to blockchain. It's actually an organic fit for what we're trying to accomplish.
Definitely. Yeah. And thank you so much for that intro, and congratulations on that advisory position.
Thank you.
That sounds like a great staple. And you're right about the privacy, data management. It's been a huge topic recently, especially with social media and people understanding like, hey, people are sort of becoming the product and they don't really own their own information. And with the help of blockchain technology, we can take that back. And I was looking into Cirus Foundation, and that your team actually has hardware that you're using. It's not just a software product. Maybe you can touch on the hardware and sort of what that does and how that brings power back to the users.
Yeah, certainly. I can touch on that. And exactly what you said, Ashton, just to cover your note there, the last year, we've seen such a big move into the digital era, and we've left an informational age to a digital age where we're now utilizing everything by the form of data and digital version of ourselves. So it's more important now than ever before to really empower people to connect with their data, because it's not just a value equation, it's a representation of themselves in this new landscape that we're living in. And that's why with the Cirus Foundation, we're building the inroads into crypto, decentralized finance, and other applications that people can take their data into. And it's a very powerful thing. This is why we really want to focus on this at this point in time. The hardware device is very unique, because there's not many crypto projects that are in the space of hardware. You can look at some comparisons such as like Helium, that's gained some traction, which is fantastic, and they're showing real use cases. We take a hardware approach because it's something that actually doesn't have to change learned behavior, right? And this is really core to our thesis in the Cirus Foundation, that we can do something that is most familiar to people. They don't have to learn a new system. What we do is we actually replace a Wi-Fi router in someone's home, and we can connect with them directly. And so they can have a very seamless, easy on-ramp experience. That allows the user to come into the system in a more frictionless way, but it also connects to their high-quality data points around their home, because we think in the industry of IoT devices, that's growing by leaps and bounds. This is high-quality data that's inside someone's home, and that we're actually able to connect with them with. And part of the hardware solution is that it is part of our adoption strategy. And when we think about adoption, we'll talk about this, I think, in this call here. It's really, really key to what we need to do in the blockchain world to form adoption of crypto across the world. And the part of our strategy is working with hardware devices, is working with major internet service providers across the world to deploy these. And so we're really excited about it.
That is very exciting, and I think it's great. I think it's great to merge, that digital world and cryptocurrency, and especially people that are just getting into it. They feel like they need to hold something in their hands, right? And when they see it's only digital, they don't really understand the connection. So to have that piece of hardware, I think is great. And yeah, there aren't a lot of blockchain companies that are producing physical hardware, but the ones that are, it seem like they're rapidly selling out. And with that, your team also has to produce that hardware and get it delivered to the customers. So I'm curious, is it absolutely required to take advantage of the benefits of data management, personal privacy for Cirus Foundation to have the hardware, or is it also possible to take advantage of it without the hardware?
Well, you bring up a very good question, and we've worked really hard to try to solve that question and answer that question. And really, Cirus is more than a hardware. Hardware is obviously a very important part of what we do, but bottom line, we are an ecosystem. We're a platform. And so we can allow for the crypto users immediately, within the next very short period of time, we'll be announcing this, but they can come on and onboard onto our platform, onto the ecosystem, start earning tokens, start building value. We can get you monetization for your data with just a software solution. Clearly, the hardware is the final piece. And when we have the IoT devices connected with the Wi-Fi router and put that in your home, it completes the entire process. But in the meantime, you can start getting onto the platform, start earning, start understanding the benefits of data monetization. And so, yeah, that's a big part of our strategy going forward to really empower the crypto community. And a lot of times, as from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you're trying to build awareness and you're trying to build adoption. And it's really important that you do that. And in our case, we believe that we have an entire crypto community out there that understand the thesis of empowering the individual, taking away from, as I like to call them, the oligarchs. If data is the new oil, then the oligarchs are the ones that are controlling all that now. And we think that's flawed. And so this is really, in our minds, simpatico with Cirus Foundation's thesis, as well as someone that has adopted the cryptocurrency mantra around the world.
Definitely. Well said, Daniel. And I like how you mentioned data monetization. And I know it's one thing to be able to own your data, but to be able to actually create revenue generating opportunities from your own information and be the one who's benefiting from that, obviously that's going to have huge advantages for people to be able to take advantage of that. And I know that part of Cirus Foundation's goals is to generate revenue generating opportunities for people that have their data there ready to monetize it. Maybe you can elaborate on that and how exactly people can use Cirus to generate revenue from their information.
Yeah, I could say it. We have a two-pronged approach, making sure that right from the unbox experience, getting the hardware in your home, it's delivered from the internet service provider, and they install and connect that in the homeowner. It actually helps us because the idea is that we don't have to change the way we instruct people how to use this product. It's enterprise ready. The individual will then unbox it, scan a QR code, and they go through an onboarding experience. And that onboarding experience means they opt in for everything. They have provisions around what they want to share and what they don't want to share. Full control is our key. And the idea is once they deploy that device with the onboarding experience, they've now opened a crypto wallet. And so, which is really key because this is something that really mixes the bridge that we're trying to see right now in crypto, where we're inviting the rest of the world to be a part of this digital era. And by us doing that, we're inserting blockchain technology without changing people's behavior, right? And so the onboarding experience is really key. So they earn revenue right from day one. They get paid with cryptocurrency. And so now they're inside the system of what we call blockchain and crypto. So they can choose how they want to move that value. And that's important for us because now they can reinsert that back into the ecosystem. They can take that into network functionalities. They can take that into staking. There's a whole host of Web3 and DeFi applications that we're building as a entry point for people. So we think that big data is actually the big ticket in the digital era, and that's what we're leveraging because it's not just an asset that people have to make money, but it's an access for them. And that's what's really key. And I think in the emerging market, this is probably one of the first digital currencies that they'll actually own. And so it's exciting.
That is very exciting, and to open the box and be able to understand that you can be monetizing right away with all of these different avenues as well. I know your team is early on, and you're continuing to grow out more services, more avenues to be able to monetize. It is very exciting, and as you continue to grow, I was looking sort of at the roadmap. There's many different avenues in ways that you can monetize information and provide information to advertisers, for example, to be able to reap the benefits and not be the product. Maybe you can talk about, out of all the ways that you're looking at building currently, but also in the future, what are you most excited for in ways that people through Cirus Foundation can monetize their information?
Well, I think the core is understanding that you should be being paid for your data today, and you're not being paid for your data. So that's the biggest part of this equation, is just unlocking what is already there, and that's significant. And so when we start with that premise, it's significant. But then we look at all kinds of other avenues that we're building and thinking about and working on. Data NFT, for example, it's very interesting. We think NFT, by and large, is not right. We think there's some fixes to NFT, frankly. Too deep for us to get into that now. This is not really a time to do that. But suffice it to say that the core premise of reconfiguring how you're paid for your data, that you actually be paid for your data using blockchain, using the Cirus Foundation platform, that's kind of the main thing. We'll work on other things. We've got a lot of stuff right now in stealth and in sandboxing, and it's too early to talk about that because there's a lot of things, discovery that we have to do. We've been 2.5, 3 years just getting to this point. So stay tuned. Certainly something that we'll keep you coming back, right?
Yeah, and if I can add a point to that too, I think that's it's well said. I mean, the idea is that data is something you should be earning from day one. But the amazing part is that we can take an emerging market and create data is not just it's a bankable asset, right? And when they're built onto this platform that we're building out right now, as Daniel kind of alluded to, it's going to be more of an immersive experience, right? You can take that data and become a part of the investment world. It's financial inclusion to the emerging market, and that's really key, and that's what we want to support. Great, there's revenue generation, but the idea is inclusion in the finance world, and we can do that. We can allow the owner of that data to use how they want to insert that value into this ecosystem. Data NFT is something that we are working on. It's a dynamic NFT, and that allows an individual to move their value into other ecosystems, which I never had the ability to do before. It's a really powerful thing. But I'm really excited that we actually can take someone who has never had access to finance and give them that, and actually include them in the rest of the world where we just take that for granted.
Definitely, that's very exciting, and I will look forward to seeing how that plays out. I know your team's working on that and a bunch of other things. And one of the things that I just saw that your team actually did announce, which is pretty cool, is the integration into Polygon's network, which is the fastest growing blockchain right now. So congratulations on that. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that partnership, how it's going to benefit Cirus Foundation and the users.
Yeah, certainly. When we think about technology, and this has been over a 2.5-year experience right now with Cirus and the build out of this system, and especially with the device, we look for leaders in each industry that we work with. They don't have to recreate the wheel. We know Ethereum is proven, it's tried, it's tested, and it's here to stay. And we could see a lot of advancements in the Ethereum community. And now that the layer 2 solutions have come out to support scalability, it's made it a perfect fit for us. And the idea that we can remit now through the system, data earnings and data revenue at micro transaction costs, micro fees, it's a perfect fit. So we wanted to work with the best. We think that the Polygon team is very sharp at what they do, but they also have an ecosystem play. And the first thesis that we want to build here is a network layer first. It's part of the ownership economy. So the idea is we can support the network layer first. We can create nodes, validators, staking tools, and we can work with all the ecosystem participants under Ethereum layer 2. And so working with Polygon invites that crowd in, so we can build a ground up approach, the network layer first, and then the application layer that will sit on top of that, which is the data revenue app. So the idea for us is value at every layer, and why not start with one that we think is the lead? And we're excited to work with Polygon, and they've invited us. We have a lot of announcements actually coming out post-launch with the ecosystem players in the Ethereum layer 2 standard.
Very cool. Thanks for that, Michael. And you're mentioning, we keep talking about revenue generating opportunities and microtransactions as well. And I can only help but think that the Cirus Network token is involved in that, and we haven't really touched on it yet. And I would love to get more information for the viewers about the Cirus token. Is that sort of the main revenue generation transactional token that's being used? How else is it used in the platform, and maybe a little bit about the sustainability of it in the ecosystem?
Yeah, certainly I could touch upon that, because it's a very complex token economy we've built for the Cirus token. We looked at it from a few functions. Obviously, the true utility, the dynamic within the ecosystem, and the economy. So what I mean by this is that the first functions of the utility token is that every device that lives on the network will require a nominal amount of Cirus tokens. That shows that it's live to the network. It's an anti-spam type of mechanism, making sure that this is a real true homeowner. We also have the bridge function, so we can actually bridge individual remittance into other currencies, stable currencies, and non-native assets. We also have a remittance function, which I said will be a natural aspect because we're paying for data. And the last function as well is rewards, especially considering that you could be a network participant in supporting the infrastructure. And so we really wanted to look at that. The point that I really want to make is that the demand function to the token is what's key, because the more devices that we deploy, the more requirement for the token that will exist, and that will be taken either from open market or from a treasury. So, but our idea is to support the innovation and growth to the token economy by us performing, and we have now a pretty heavy contract in front of us that is really exciting, and we think there's going to be a lot of demand for the utility of the token. The last point to the idea about this is that the user can reinsert that value and earn higher revenue on their data in the future. So the more they participate in taking the Cirus token and putting it back into value and being part of the network, they will increase their multiple from a 1.0 to 1.5 and 2.0 in the future data revenue. So they become more of a data value data generator, and that's something that's part of the economy that we're building right now. It gives us more of a cutting edge in ways we can bring values for the homeowner. We could talk about even the adoption strategy as well, because we want to have a wide circulation for the Cirus token and make sure it's adopted around the world. And I think that's part of our strategy. And I think Daniel can touch on the adoption factor as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Maybe Daniel, you could talk about, with the token in the ecosystem when it's out, what are some of the incentives and strategies that you're looking to bring on early adopters into the platform?
Yeah, and that's really the core, again, of the Cirus Foundation. We come to this from the perspective of building a big data platform. So our whole idea first comes from a straight big data platform business. So how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways you can do that. Snapchat's a good example. Snapchat, they went out public at a $40 billion valuation. They had 125 million users. Very good, very good. The negative to that is they lost $700 million. That's a big loss, and great for the investor. They got their ROI out of it. But we looked at it from a standpoint saying, well, we don't want to spend $700 million to build a platform. So how do we do that? So our first strategy was working with emerging markets ISPs. Why? Because you may be shocked to know that emerging markets are still very, very few network connections in those markets. So broadband connections in emerging markets is very, very small. And so in these emerging markets, ISPs are expanding very fast. We are aligning with those and contracting with those ISPs to provide large numbers of routers. In fact, we'll be announcing post-launch significant size contracts in the millions, which will bring millions and millions of users onto our platform, guaranteed, not aspirational, not if we can get them or convince them, because the ISP installs the router, there's 5 users per home for that router. So we have every contract that we have 5 users baked into our model, coming into crypto for the very first time, but also coming onto the Cirrus platform for the very first time. So that's a hardware strategy. But beyond the hardware strategy, when we talk about the direct onboarding onto our platform with the crypto community before they get a hardware device, we are designing incentive structures that will incentivize those coming onto the platform to get others to get onto the platform. Listen, you cannot make an argument that every person that is online shouldn't be on the Cirrus platform. It's inconceivable that if you're online, you should be being paid for your internet insights. It's just automatic. That's just like that's almost a God-given right. You should be doing that, and that's not happening. So our market is virtually everyone that's on the internet, which is a big market. So we want to get as many people as possible incentivized to drive adoption, get people onto our platform, both through hardware and through incentivization on the direct to ecosystem onboarding.
Definitely. Thanks for that, Daniel. And I do agree as well. And we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to talk about the upcoming launch. I know there's an IDO launch coming up, and how viewers can learn more about that, and also about the hardware and getting involved in Cirus Foundation.
Yeah, I'll touch on the the first strategy is that we're coming into market with which we're terming a purpose-built launch. We're not just picking partners and for no reason. We actually will be working with these partners in the long term. So we are the flagship project on ScaleSwap right now, and that's the Ethereum Layer 2 IDO Launchpad. We'll be working with the team ongoing as well on some innovation that they've created, which is fantastic. We also will be on Zendit, and they have been supporting Polygon and DeFi integrations. And then we have a major news with some exchanges, and that's all aligns with what we want to do to support a purpose-built launch. And so that's coming up in the next week. The main point is that this is a long-term approach for us, and everybody we try to work with is a part of that journey. The aspects that we have coming up in the next 6 months are that once we get into market, we'll be opening up our first early access for the Cirrus platform, at which you can come in and you can be an early participant. That will allow you to earn Cirrus tokens and be part of the testing trial of data monetization right from a web client that will actually bolt onto the system and the platform. And the more you do that, the ability for you to even just earn a device for free is something that we're working on, and that'll get shipped right to your home. Like Daniel said, our major focus is working with a enterprise go-to-market strategy, which is ISPs first, because that's how we build in millions of people into the system. But we'll be opening up a direct-to-consumer line later part of this year that will allow anybody around the world to be invited to work with us, and that will be a premium device that will be able to mine the blockchain as well, which is super cool. It's comparison to Helium, and we think that probably even a bit better because we have a real revenue model, which is data that's tied on top of it. So it will allow a premium version, a direct-to-consumer line to access that unit, and we're kind of targeting really multiple approaches. So that's really what's in store in the next 6 months, and super excited. So
very exciting. Thank you so much, Michael, and Daniel as well, for all the great information.
Of course.
I will leave those links for Cirus Foundation, the upcoming launch, all in the description box below as well for the viewers. All the best with the launch and all of these amazing updates coming in the coming months, and let's follow up in the near future.
Great,
Thanks
Ashton.
so much,
Thank
Ashton.
you so much. Really appreciate your time.